Hello, welcome to this interesting, very interesting episode of Healing Stories. We have a really fascinating case to discuss today. So introducing Craig, who is here with me today. Craig came to me in March 22, wasn't it, Craig?
February.
It was February 22, okay. February 22. And Craig has a history of rheumatoid arthritis diagnosed in 2008, as well as fibromyalgia. He'd had bad lungs all of his life, croup as a baby, pneumonia later on. I think you had an almost life-threatening episode at one point.
I had two doses of pneumonia during my life. Cold flu jabs were the last point where I near on ended up with pneumonia again because of having a cold flu jab.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you'd always consider yourself to have weak lungs, and so you couldn't go on to the normal treatment for rheumatoid arthritis, which is methotrexate, because of this. So you're worried about your immune system. Now, when I first saw you, you were in so much pain, and you had kind of normalized the pain. You were so used to it. The reason you came to see me was you just thought you'd come to see if there are any developments in the field of rheumatoid arthritis. I don't know if you really had a big idea of what integrative medicine was about. I think you were just, having a look.
I walked in, eyes totally open, shut as well, if you know what I mean. Walked in and thought, right, I'm going to try.
Let's see. Yeah, so you probably weren't expecting too much, but you just thought, let's just see. And the pain was so bad for you that you were drinking a lot of alcohol just to help you with the pain, because you'd actually come off meds 3 or 4 years beforehand.
I had, yes. I'd run out of everything I could take, been taken off everything and literally written off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have a passion, so you were working, even though you're a landlord, you also have a passion for fixing cars, like mechanical work. So you were, I remember you telling me when we first met that, you sort of will need to rest for 20 minutes and can work for about 2 minutes before you need to rest again. Yeah,
that was exactly how I was. Just suffered so much pain from doing the slightest things.
Yeah.
And it took me 20 minutes at least to get over it to be able to start again.
Yeah. And you were drinking a lot, weren't you, to cope with the pain?
Oh, yeah, as well as CBD use as well.
Yeah. And it was like, what, 7 pints or more a day, something like that?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. And you had a history of allergies. So you had a few different allergies as well. You told me, that you'd had a difficult childhood and a difficult early adulthood. And also, I also have written down, I remember it well, when we first met, that, you have this, you had some interesting abilities. So you said you've always been in touch with the other side. You've seen ghosts, you saw a UFO once, and had really vivid dreams when you were a child. But really interestingly, you actually have this ability to communicate with dogs when dog tracking.
Yeah, do quite well with.
Sorry?
Very, very tuned to my dogs.
Yes, yeah. So we would never really, but I'm sure people would be fascinated by all of these things. I mean, we won't focus too much on it, but I think it'll be interesting just to hear just a little bit more, if you're comfortable. I know it's unusual, but it's fascinating. And your dogs are a really important part of your life, aren't they?
They are. I've got a 9-year-old girl now. I've retired her, but we used to use her for tracking lost dogs down. And generally she'd retrieve between 10 and 15 dogs a year. So we'd literally take her out and everything was sort of done silently because we didn't want to disturb anything around us. She was always totally quiet while we're out and about. And we sort of had like more of a telepathy link in reading each other. But she absolutely one of the best tracker dogs you could ever come across. Everyone around here praised her up. Even this morning I found a letter on Facebook. It's like, please, can you come and help us? You're our only chance.
Oh, really?
A dog. Unfortunately, that message somehow was sent 2 years ago and never got arrived.
Oh, no. So what sort of things are you, excuse my ignorance, we never discussed this, but what sort of things are you tracking? What is the dog tracking about?
We were tracking dogs that had been lost.
Right.
Someone takes it out for a walk, it runs off chasing a rabbit, goes down a badger hole. certain things like that. It runs off, starts playing with foxes, ends up running around with foxes. So literally, we'd use the dog to find the missing dog and where it's been, what it's been doing, then set up camera systems, monitor that, find out what the dog's doing, how it's behaving, literally getting into the psyche of the dog. And then we start putting out traps to actually bring the dog back home.
I see.
So
Yeah.
sometimes it was 6 months that we were chasing the dog. But I used to keep this totally anonymous because I didn't want anything to happen to my dog because he was so precious to us.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, the things I've seen that dog do are absolutely incredible. She's running a good 50 metres parallel to a scent. So the scent's in the middle of the A13. We're running right beside the A13. So we're like a good 50 metres away from where the dog ran down the A13. And she just tracked it straight to where it was. Next day I walked down there in the field.
What kind of dog?
That one was like a little terrier.
No, sorry, your dog.
No, my dog's a German Shepherd.
German Shepherd, yeah. Okay.
Um,
And this telepathic communication you have with your dog, is it just with your dog, or you have had it with other dogs?
No, I do have it with other people's dogs and that. I do generally just seem to bond with dogs straight away. They seem to just know I'm a dog person.
So it's more a feeling. You sort of feel what they are.
Yeah, you do find that quite normal in the dog world when you're you're hooked with dogs.
Okay, so okay, and so then yes, so this first consultation. So I remember doing because in integrative medicine we look at all aspects of health to include the psycho-emotional, energetic, etc. And so I remember we did a visualization session, I think in your first session, wasn't it? Or maybe the follow-up.
Following, yeah.
Okay, and I remember, and this is basically where we ask someone to really see themselves well, picture themselves getting better, and it was something that you couldn't access that part, could you? Couldn't see anything. So that was a complete flop. And then I asked you to go on to quite a strict diet, because we really work on bringing down inflammation. We work on healing the gut, because which is so linked with the immune system. And taking quite a few different supplements, and I think you weren't too keen on any of that either, but you did have a good go that first month.
Yeah. I think I did well that first month.
Yeah, you did well that first month, and then I remember getting quite a cross either email or call from you saying, I can't eat my cakes anymore.
Well, it was my birthday.
Okay, fair enough. All right, I'll let you off. But
Mum got everything. I had a coffee and cake, and that was it. Yeah.
So I remember you saying, you'd done your month on paleo, so taking out the grains, the dairy, the sugar, and then then you had your cake, and then you had a reaction, and you could previously tolerate it. So I explained to you at that time that as the gut starts to heal in those early stages, everything starts to pick up and is better in a better place to be able to communicate with us. So the immune system, the gut, is able to communicate with us better, so that when we put in something that it really doesn't like, but it had previously had dampened the immune response, it now was able to give you a better immune response to say I don't like it. So you were experiencing that to begin with, and then and I was new to microimmunotherapy at that time, because I was part of the first, I believe it was pretty much the first cohort of doctors to train in microimmunotherapy just at the beginning of that year. I think it was beginning of 22.
I think you're the only one registered with them in the UK still.
Oh, really? Okay. Maybe just my name's on the web. And there are definitely other doctors that have done the training. But yes, so I was new to it, but I had a fantastic mentor who had trained me and who worked closely with me through your case and others' cases. And so I thought, okay, it's going to be tricky to really get on top of this autoimmunity with diet, supplements, detox, psychotherapeutics, etc. Let's see how well we get on with the microimmunotherapy. And I think within 3-4 weeks, Craig, he came back to me, and
literally 2 weeks after you started me on it, My son was here and we were doing a little bit of work on his car, and he just literally turned around to me. He's like, "Dad, how long before that medicine you're on is meant to work?" And it's like, "Oh, well, I don't really know. Just know to take it." He's like, "Dad, you're using your hands." He's like, "I've never seen you use your hands." And it's like, that's when it first started. And it's like, hang on, I am using my hands.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. And then very quickly over the next few weeks, it literally just disappeared.
It's amazing. You had an amazing initial response, didn't you?
Oh, yeah.
And that kept going. You kept getting better. And remember, this was because microimmunotherapy normally works best with other integrative medicine approaches, which means that we work on the gut healing, we're on the strict diet, the right supplements, we're doing psychotherapy, whatever, we're doing the other integrative, definitely the gut healing side. But you still weren't leading that healthier lifestyle, were you? But it was still having a great response for you.
Oh, I was actually doing well then with my diet and that. I've stuck to it all the way till today.
But the alcohol was still present at that stage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got your trick of buying the alcohol-free beers and that. That really made a big difference on cutting down the amount of alcohol.
Yeah.
Yeah,
to get that out of the system a bit more. Yeah. So you had an amazing initial response, and then I mean, it's probably, I think it was middle of last year, wasn't it, when you had your fall and you had a bit of a relapse?
Oh, that was December the year before. I had the fall on the ice just before Christmas.
Oh, okay. So 6 months before that, right?
And,
okay.
Yeah, it was. Well, we're coming up 13 months now.
Right, okay.
Literally worst pain I've ever experienced in my life, and even to this day, the hip is still giving me hell. Shoulder's better, but yeah, that's actual physical damage that I've got to work through next when I get a bit of time to carry on.
And is that thought to all be RA, rheumatoid arthritis, or is there osteoarthritic components, I think, to that as well with the hip?
The doctor I saw, he basically told me I need an MRI scan on it next to see what damage I've actually caused by the fall. And he is of the belief that I've got a small chip in the hip joint somewhere, so that as I twist on it, it's a nerve. Because literally, if I just twist the wrong way slightly, lift something a bit too heavy, putting weight on that hip, the hip just gives out on me, and I'm going.
Yeah. And so when was it that you went to see the craniosacral therapist that we sent you to?
I started seeing Matt literally the week after I first.
Yeah, it was early on, wasn't it?
Yeah,
and you had a really good response to that as well, didn't you?
Really good response. He was actually amazed with that, because he literally said to me, like, when you get up here, go and lay down for a few hours because you're going to feel totally worn out. And there's him trying to help me off the treatment table, and I literally just jumped off the treatment table, and he's like, "What the hell's happened to you?" And it's like, mate. So yeah, really good to start with.
Had a really good initial session with that, a few sessions, but I find that often with people who are sensitive, and you're definitely class you as a natural sensitive, with telepathy and everything, the abilities, etc. And generally, people who are naturally sensitive can have quite profound changes when they have energy medicine, which craniosacral is like a form of energy medicine, a bit like osteopathy, but it is a type of energy medicine as well. So you had a good response to that. You had a great response to the microimmunotherapy. Now, after you had a flare-up, which I thought was in the middle of last year, you had a flare-up when I went to go send you to Jill.
About March last year, because I'd been back to see Matt again, and he'd done the craniotherapy, and then I started having that little flare. I think it lasted about 3 weeks in the end, didn't it? That's when we redone the bloods and done a little restart, didn't we?
Yeah, that's it. So they had a reset.
I was back to good before we'd done the restart.
Yes, I remember. Yeah. Okay. But when you had I think it was with your hip, you had a bit of a flare. I said, why don't you go to see my colleague who has a sports physio background, but she also works with energy medicine, psychotherapy, look at the deeper root causes.
Yeah.
And so, I'm trying to pinpoint when that was. I thought that was
that was about the middle of the year, because I
last
felt
summer.
that I was getting nowhere with the hip. Doctors, impossible to get. And it's even now. I was referred, but you phone the number, you keep chasing them. No one gets back to you. And I've now been told I've got to go back to the doctor and start again because 6 weeks are up. So
Nightmare, I know, really difficult.
Next plan, go and get the MRI done private, so that I can hurry it along.
Yeah. So when I sent you to my colleague Jill Jessen, who uses this device called Vitality, which is like a microcurrent therapy using vibrational remedies, frequency remedies as well, to help address the root cause of people's ill health. Now, obviously, I was sending you so that she could do her massage work and do some psychotherapy and have this microcurrent, the Vitality therapy as well. But unbeknownst to us, you had a real reaction to going on the Vitality device. And to begin with, we thought, Jill and I spoke, you and I spoke, and Jill thought it was more to do with the eucalyptus or essential oil she was using and the diffuser, and maybe that triggered a memory back to Australia that you had, you'd been in before, and she thought it was linked to that. But we basically realized it was to do with the electrical current of the machine.
Yeah, it was. Me and Yvette had little concern about it before I'd actually been to her.
Yeah.
Because Yvette knows my background with electrical items and all that. And when we were saying it's some sort of electro system or whatever, don't know, just going to do it anyway. She's like, I hope it don't hurt you. So, sort of went in a bit prepared to come out hurt anyway.
Yeah.
But it proved the point, didn't it?
Yes, yeah. So I don't think you and I had really discussed that electrical issue that you and Yvette, your wife, your partner, had were aware of. Because you didn't talk about it, it was something you were aware of.
A bit of medical condition, had it all life, just it's something that's there that you deal with.
Yeah. And I think as part of that unpicking process, because you had a real flare up, really, didn't you? You went on the machine, you had a real flare.
Jill started me on the machine to start with. I'd been on it for about half an hour because she wanted me on it for about 90 minutes, she said. She wanted me on it for half an hour to start with before she'd start the massage on the joints and that. And I was feeling all right, but I was really feeling the electric. When she went to put the cuffs on me, literally it zapped me from 4 inches away. But she's like, well, you can't do it. It's not turned on. Oh, it was turned on. And she had it turned on before she started. But it was when she broke out the oils that I had to keep sensitivity then.
Okay. That was bad.
I actually reacted to both of them.
Yeah.
But it was chemicals that made me literally run out the room.
Yeah.
Feeling like I was going to be sick.
Yes.
But then after that, the drive home was so totally different because I'm having heart palpitations, every sort of symptom you can line up with EMHS, chemical sensitivity, the whole lot of bombarding me. The next day we were actually meant to be going on holiday, which is why I booked in to see Jill, so in the hope that I was better for the holiday. We had to postpone for the day. I could not get out of bed. And then after that, we went away, and that's when I realised I was having all these bad electrical effects on everything.
Okay.
You need a video.
Yes, so that's when you sent me a video, didn't you?
Yeah.
You sent me a video, and I didn't fully understand to begin with. You sent me, we'd spoken about the session you'd had with Jill, and then you said, look, I've always had the kind of some sort of issue with electricity, and I think this was related to my reaction to the Vitality system. And you sent me a video of you going close to a TV screen and moving away from it and showing how the TV screen basically shut down and went all fuzzy whenever you were near it and then recovered when you moved away.
Well, that was, you weren't seeing the proper full picture there because I've been out walking the dog. Yvette had just turned the TV on to settle in for the evening after we'd set up. So when I came back into the room, the TV's on normally. As I came into the awning, the TV just black screened. I what you're saying. You were seeing like a black screen and then interference as I was sort of coming over and pumping away at the TV. So I'd actually totally blocked the whole signal for the TV. But it was as I was getting close to it, I was giving it the interfered signal back. But how? Why? What?
So this was then, so when I saw that video, and then I realized with the reaction with the vitality, which, you know, we had thought was this maybe to the oils, maybe some kind of psychological connection, maybe some healing reaction, like a detox reaction, you know, that's where we were at that time. And then when you sent me the video with the TV, you know, started putting two and two together and thinking, okay, could this be related to electromagnetic hypersensitivity syndrome? And I contacted a friend who actually was a patient previously to me, but he's now a friend, and he is in all the electromagnetic hypersensitivity forums. So he knows it backwards because he has suffered with it for so long. And so I contacted him and said, you know, here's the phenomenon. Could this be EMHS, electromagnetic hypersensitivity syndrome? And he said, I have come across some people talking about this issue. And this is definitely a phenomenon that I've come across within the community, within the EMHS community. Because normally, just for those listening and watching, electromagnetic hypersensitivity syndrome is more, you know, people can't be around screens and people can't be around phones and Wi-Fi hubs and, you know, too close to electricity. But yours is a very unusual phenomenon where you actually have, it's not just that, you know, electrical devices, electromagnetic frequencies affect you, you affect them back. So then when you and I started speaking about this, you started sharing all these different stories about how this had gone for you over the course of your life that you hadn't, and you said, I've never really spoken about it because I just thought I was just weird. I remember you saying, I just thought I was weird, so I didn't, you know, bring it up.
But it's everyone around me that sees it happening. They're like, you're just a weirdo. Get away from the computer.
So you told me there were times, you know, when you'd go to the cashier till, and if you're near the paying with the card machine, it stops working.
Oh, self-serve tills are my best fun ever. I just go to them to break them so that the cashier's got to come and help me out and serve me. But literally, I'm trying to things, and obviously I'm close to it. It doesn't notice that I'm trying to scan something. I'll put it through 5 times, it won't scan. I'll press the screen numerous times. It just doesn't accept me.
So your being there interferes with the signal, basically.
I've actually figured out since you sort of organised this interview that when I'm in a higher state of mind, like being wound up, so say I'm out doing my shopping and I'm trying to get through the supermarket quick and everyone's sort of butting in your way, being rude as usual, you get that bit more wound up. And it seems that when I'm more like that, I'm more likely to affect the machinery as well.
How interesting. Okay, I definitely can't explain that one, but we're going to be interviewing a specialist a bit later who I hope may be able to shed some light on that. But I do think yours is certainly an unusual case. And then, of course, there was a really unfortunate event that you described. Was it when you were on holiday in the restaurant with the waiter?
That freaked the hell out of me. I just not got a clue. It's such a coincidence. But basically, the waiter was standing there in front of me. It's in a friend's restaurant in Cornwall. And he's taking my order, and I was explaining to him, like, no lemon on it, no drizzle on it. I can't have them. And he's like, that's strange. That's how I am. And then he literally just stopped and turned around, run out to the kitchen. You know, didn't say a word. I'm just sitting there, and it's like, and then I see him shoot from the kitchen to outside the front of the restaurant. And it's like, don't know what's going on. And apparently 10 years before, he'd had a heart attack outside that restaurant. And while he's taking my order, his pacemaker stopped. First time
stopped, yeah.
First
time in the 10 years, was it? Did you say?
First time in the 10 years that he's had the pacemaker that it's ever stopped.
Yeah.
He actually stood well back from me after that when he came back in.
He did what, sorry?
He actually stood well back from me when he came back in.
Oh, really? Oh, so it's almost like he sensed it. Oh, interesting.
yeah, we're figuring that there might have been something on his side as well.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. So he ran out, went away from you, and then thankfully it restarted. He recovered, and then he came back to you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So of course it could be coincidence, but it just seems, given all of the occurrences that you've experienced, it seems maybe more than that. But yes, you've had some interesting times with electrical devices. So after all of this, you then took it upon yourself to delve into, researching the condition, finding other people, joining forums, really just starting to understand, and through that process, and you've got a meter, an EMF, electromagnetic frequency meter, to measure the outputs, and started changing your lifestyle around it, didn't you?
Yeah, the meter has actually really helped, and the understanding as well. With the meter, I had a problem with my laptop where it felt like it was constantly burning my legs. And when we checked it with the meter and compared it to a vet's computer that's identical model, one read 1,000 volts and the other one was reading like 2. Well, 2's acceptable, 1,000's right over, and it turned out that it was the charger. It was a faulty charger. And it might have actually been the faulty battery as well, but we changed the battery first. That made no difference. Changed the charger, and that brought it straight down to 2 on the reading. So I'd obviously been, where I used to have it sitting on my legs, I'd obviously been pulling in electric from that.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Right. Okay.
Yeah, but the meter has really helped figure out where I'm picking things up from. The other example was, like I said to you, about CCTV cameras. Over the last few years, I've done quite a lot of improvements around here. Well, none of them actually been that good for EMHS, because everything we're doing is like LED light bulbs. And then I'm wondering why I'm wandering around with a fuzzy head, and it's because we've had everything changed to LED. You pull up at home, and where I park my van, it's got 3 CCTV cameras covering it. And literally, I'll pull up, open the door of the van, get out, and just be physically sick. Whole head going, nose streaming, everything. It was only like bile and that, but it was still very uncomfortable. And turn the cameras off, not a problem. So it seems if there's only one camera, it's not strong enough to affect me, but we had set like extra ones up there to cover the van, then they're obviously just hitting me harder as I'm getting out.
And have you measured them with your meter?
I did measure them, and it seems that the newer cameras, the whole place is covered with CCTV, and we've turned a lot of it off now. But the new cameras that I've installed down there come up with a hell of a lot higher reading, IR reading, than the older cameras. So, and it's obviously down to the distance that their IR goes for picking up people and that when they're working. Yeah, understanding that has helped as well. And
you did make that association in the past with feeling unwell with the LED lights and the CCTV?
No.
Because you were experiencing, you were feeling unwell all the time, weren't you?
All the time, yeah. Well, the big problem was having the rheumatoid. Everything was sort of blamed on that as such.
Yes, yeah.
Because it was really totally debilitating. But then it's after that you start feeling better, and it's like, well, hang on, now this is wrong with me. Can we fix that, Anna?
Yeah, you could see the wood for the trees for a change, couldn't you?
Yeah.
You started to be able to see everything more clearly, yeah. And that's quite interesting, actually, taking a step back and thinking about it more generally with the rheumatoid arthritis and other autoimmune conditions. You're right, when people have other symptoms, they just get slapped onto that label, oh, it's just part of your autoimmune condition. And I think that's part of it being poorly understood. But from our perspective in integrative and functional medicine, we know that when the immune system is dysfunctional, as in the case of autoimmune diseases, you can also have all these other correlating immune issues, such as the multiple chemical sensitivity that you experience.
That's quite interesting. The last course of MIT, you gave me that little course of
immunotherapy, just for people listening. Yep.
Yeah, we picked up on that little inflammation marker, and you've gave me the treatment for that. And while I was on that, literally my sinuses, because I've got wisdom teeth growing into my sinuses, they are constantly a problem at the moment. And started sorting out the sinuses straight away, pretty much within a week or so. But dental work at the same time, we were unsure which it was, but the dentist figured out it was definitely not him doing it. So it must have been down to microimmunotherapy.
Yes, yeah.
But
Yes.
since we finished that course, my MCS has actually about halved.
Multiple chemical sensitivity, yeah.
I told you this yet because I haven't had the chance to, but now if any of the neighbours are having dirty bonfires or whatever, they don't affect me.
Can you put that down to what? Sorry, Craig, you put that down to the MIT or the
I do put that down to the
microimmunotherapy? Yeah, yeah, that's what it should do. Yeah.
It's done something to me sinuses and
Yeah.
made them a lot better. But even the most recent dose of COVID I had, it totally cleared my sinus and lungs 100% perfectly clear while I had COVID. Whereas everyone always suffers, don't they? The opposite way.
That is yeah, I'm not quite sure how to explain that. Apart from when we have an infection, our body is detoxing, whether it's relating to that, but I think it's just some shift in your immune system. Because you had that when I first met you, you had said, you know, you got COVID and actually your rheumatoid got better for quite a long time, didn't it, afterwards?
Yeah.
So there's some, yeah, I can't explain that, to be honest. Don't know why that's happened for you.
I've come to see you because every time I had COVID before I saw you, I felt fine. No irate. And then it just come back.
I think that's a whole other line of inquiry. I mean, I feel with you, Craig, you know, we're just peeling back layer by layer of the onion, and it's just, you know, aren't we?
Yeah.
You know, we're dealing with one thing, and then the next thing we're dealing with in a really positive way. You know, you're so much better, and now we can focus on this. I mean, the teeth is something, you know, we'll need to address at some stage with a biological dentist, someone who can really address underlying inflammation and infection that will be driving a problem with the immune system. So, but that's going to be a big job for you. So I don't think I've mentioned it to you before now because I thought one thing at a time, but it will need to be addressed.
Yeah, so it's been a long journey, but well worth it so far.
Yeah, so tell everyone now how you feel now. So a big part of it was changing your diet, the microimmunotherapy, which then allowed you to reduce the alcohol as a painkiller. And of course detoxing from EMFs, from electromagnetic frequencies. So can you tell us a bit about what you can do now, how you feel now that you're avoiding the EMFs as well as much as possible?
Well, if you line me up to all my friends of my age group, I'm the best one out of a lot of them now. Whereas I was definitely 100% the worst. But it's like I had a couple of friends over at the weekend that we haven't seen for a few years. And they're both younger than me, and he's all hunched up and he can hardly move. Oh, I've got arthritis in your back, shoulders, and all that. Other friends, she's like, oh, I'm suffering from this, I'm suffering from that. So it really has picked me up as a total. And it's got the diet and the treatment combined. You couldn't just achieve it with one. Because you've done so much work on the stomach and gut health and all that as well through the food. So yeah, totally changed.
It's that multi-pronged approach, and that's integrative medicine. You know, it's really looking at as many different angles as possible. But yeah, you've had such a dramatic response to everything we've done, actually, because you're sensitive. You know, really sensitive people, we do see this, and equally their health can become so such a problem because they're so sensitive and they get affected by so many different things. So your multiple chemical sensitivity, which you have realized and have linked with the EMHS, and of course the autoimmunity, so there's all problems with your immune system. But the MCS, multiple chemical sensitivity, has reduced by half, mostly you think since the MIT, the microimmunotherapy, but also it's going to be the detox, you know, the dietary detox as well as the EMF detox. You know, it's creating that foundation for the next therapy to be able to work better. And the EMFs you're keeping at bay as far as possible, and you've seen a big improvement from reducing the amounts you're exposed to.
Yeah, literally. I'm spending most of my time in my workshop, and it's pretty much totally free.
Wow. Yeah.
For the EMHS, yeah.
That's
So
amazing. Yeah.
very,
Yeah. So you can do everything now. The only problems you basically have now are still the ongoing teeth and sinuses problems, but they're improving, and the hip.
and the hip damage, yeah.
Yeah. But everything else is
everything else is really good.
really remarkable. And also, Craig, you know, because I had the privilege to have a chat with your partner and her mom as well at some stage, and you know, they were both feeding back at what a different man they now have in their house, in their family. You know, how do you want to comment a bit about that? How you feeling yourself?
It's one of those things with the fibromyalgia. When I had that, it was so bad that you could not touch me. If you just wandered up and just tapped me on the shoulder, I could literally just collapse on the floor. It would just, I don't know, it's as if every nerve in your body just goes, drop. So it's like the mother-in-law snuck in the office one day while I'm standing on top of the desk trying to fix CCTV. She's come up and poked me in the sides, and that's it, I'm on the floor. So, but now they can literally sneak up on me, touch me, and nothing happens. That's been absolute life-changing, but also what I can do for them now, because they're basically my carer. I was spending
your partner,
bed. She's having to do everything to look after me, so now I'm back up and out and running about. I'm doing things. She's getting on with her life again, so she's got her life back. The kids, I can help them with their cars again now. So my son, we've done an engine change in his car, and I could never have done that before. So before, even though I was working on cars, I had other people working with me. So they'd be doing all the heavy work, and I'm pretty much like, oh, can you undo that for us? Move that here. And then they'd do the heavy work, I'd do all the light work, and then we get stuck in together and put it back together again. But now I really start to finish, do an engine on my own if I wanted to.
Yeah, it's remarkable. And of course, living with chronic pain, intense chronic pain as you were, it's going to affect you as a person all the time, isn't it? And your mood and how you feel about yourself, your life.
I was always miserable. There was no light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
You spend so much time in bed with so much pain. I think the longer you stay in bed with the pain, the harder it is to actually get up and do something. But yeah, totally turned around.
Yeah, and of course, in that state, we also then start to see ourselves as ill, don't we? And that always reinforces where we're at as well, and particularly if nothing new is being offered and no solution. You thought that was it, didn't you?
Yeah, well, as the progression started to go forward, when I first started to realise that the NIT was making an effect on the rheumatoid, I literally had a breakdown. I'm like, how can I cope with this? What if it comes back? And to be honest, I felt the same as when I'd been diagnosed.
Right.
Like the other side, it's like it was as much fear coming out the other side as when you've just been diagnosed as well. So
because you'd had because you were seeing the improvement, you were seeing some relief, and you were holding on to it so strongly, you were so worried that it wasn't gonna be maintained.
And last year, that was pretty much it at that early stage. But going on and everything's actually coming forward more and more, it really helped me mentally sort myself out again as well.
Brilliant. So. That's great. What an inspiring story, Craig. I mean, really, I hope lots of people listen to this, and maybe there are people who can realize through hearing you that they have some issues with electromagnetic hypersensitivity, and then can actually start to embark on that journey as you have to help reduce their symptoms and start becoming more aware of their environment.
Well, it's like you say, I've had this all my life and I've never known. It was only you diagnosed me that I actually even heard what it was for the first time. So until you start understanding it, and even that, it's not something you can understand, is it? There's so many ifs and buts, and it's a world you go into, and it's like, are you just nuts, or have you got it? And
it's a really evolving subject, and Sorry, a bit of an internet lag. Yeah, it's a really evolving subject, and it's still not understood or known about within mainstream medicine at all. It will be, but it takes people like yourself and you know, clinicians working in this area to start to bring this evidence more into the public eye for then that to be looked into and researched.
Yeah, it is good that you're doing this to try and get it out there to help others.
Well, with your help. So thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure speaking to you today, Craig. And thank you so much for really generously sharing your story. And I really hope, I'm sure, I know it will help others. So thank you so much.
Well, I can't thank you more than enough for everything you've done for me. You have been a lifesaver.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much, Craig. Speak again soon. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.